What's up, Thrashers, and welcome back once again to the Thrash Maniac 99 YouTube channel, and I am back for another album review for you guys. This time around, we're talking about another big one, and it was one that was highly anticipated among many metalheads, and that is Immutable by Meshuggah. Don't feel like I need to go into a history lesson with Meshuggah, because I think I reviewed their last album, The Violent Sleep of Reason, back in 2016, and it's been 6 years now since their last album, which I think this is the longest gap between albums, I think, for the band. So, been a long time since we've had anything from Meshuggah. So, people wonder, where is Meshuggah gone to, and how is the music this time around? Well, if I start to sound like a broken record with some parts during this review, trust me, if you feel the same way, you're not alone. We kick things off with Broken Cog, which, right away, single-note chugging guitars, some almost sci-fi melodies going on in the background, some creepy spoken word vocals come in to add on to that atmosphere that the song is building, though the riff, honestly, throughout just kind of drags on a little bit. Finally, around the 3-minute mark, it changes a little bit as that classic H-string djenty sound that Meshuggah pioneered and is known for comes in to kind of break up a little bit of the monotony of the riff here and there. Suddenly the mood changes a bit to feel more aggressive as Jens Kidman's vocals, his signature style, comes in right before the end of the song. The Abysmal Eyes, track number 2, a more vicious riff and beats right off the bat to kind of get us started here, but also we start to kind of run into a little bit of a formula here. It's like you start off with a banging riff, and then you put atmospheric guitars on top of that. And the riffs that we're getting on this track stay chugging, but with some of that atmosphere on top to keep it from feeling boring, because the riffs on this song especially kind of just stayed in one place for way too long. We do get a cool tapping lead section to kind of break up that repetition of the riff a little bit, and it was a cool tapping lead section. Light the Shortening Fuse. Yeah, again, this is kind of a theme you're going to hear me say, at least especially throughout the first half of the album. It just picks a riff and it just kind of stays on that riff. It doesn't vary too much, it doesn't change, it doesn't progress out of it. And it's a catchy riff to start things off with more of those cool guitar melodies to add atmosphere, but it just kind of stays in this like second gear pretty much all throughout. It doesn't change gears really at all throughout much of the song, except for some minor tweaks here and there, but not really enough to kind of save it. Though towards the end, you get a cool atmospheric guitar passage to kind of show up to bring in a sense of darkness, which I think kind of helped save this song from being somewhat unlistenable for me. Phantoms being the next track, we get a riff with some atonal parts to kind of kickstart this song off, and as the vocals come in, lots of time signature shifts are going on while the riff kind of gets back to being a single note chug, and the chug continues throughout with more of those atmospheric guitars on top, and then suddenly that H-string tone just comes in out of nowhere just to kind of chug along, and really that's all this song is. It's a chug, kind of like a average chug song, if I'm going to be perfectly honest with you. Ligature Marks, the next track, the riff is heavier to start off with, but it's also slower. Like, they slowed things down a little bit more with more of those eerie guitar parts happening. And the riff kind of goes, and this riff kind of stays going along the same style for the first couple of verses, but then it comes back towards the end. But in the middle, we get more dark melodic parts here and there to kind of try and break up that riff a little bit more, but again, they just hang on certain riffs, especially also on this song, for too long, and it just kind of felt lackluster in my opinion. Now, things start to pick up a little bit in terms of the songwriting with the next track, God He Sees in Mirrors, one of the better riffs comes in right out of the gate, and it felt like classic Meshuggah as it changes a little bit, and there was better transitions going on with the riff, and they do more to add to those guitar riffs that they're coming up with on this track, and it leads into another cool tapping lead section. And then things get more atmospheric towards the end, which was nice. So this, honestly, I could say, was like the first really good song of the album, whereas the songs before just kind of felt samey in my mind. And then we get one of 3 instrumentals, and this one being the longest song of the album at almost 10 minutes, They Move Below. Starts off with some wonderfully tasty, clean guitars, which helps set this song up for a more darker tone. And I love the clean parts because it's showcasing beautiful melody and a more artistic side of Meshuggah. Then out of nowhere, those heavy djenty guitars come in and going along with those atmospheric guitars. However, I had high hopes for this song, but the riff doesn't change a whole lot throughout much of the song. However, what keeps it from being kind of bland was those atmospheric guitars. They kept getting more unwieldy and just going everywhere. So while the chugs are still going on, the atmospheric parts kind of help to kind of add more variety on top of the chugs, which, like I said, yeah, it can hang on those chugs for too long, but as long as those atmospheric parts, especially on this song, were just still going everywhere, to me, the atmospheric guitars were the star of the show on this song. And it was a good track, though I just wish the chugs could have been varied here and there, especially for a 10-minute song. Kaleidoscope starts off with another heavy riff. First 2 verses kind of carry that riff pretty much throughout, while in the third verse, the riff changes slightly to kind of feel a little more chaotic, and it leads into another tapping lead section. Really, most of the lead sections you get on here are just tapping along, and kind of, I will say a lot of the lead work on this album is just kind of predictable. It really was predictable throughout much of this album with the lead work. Black Cathedral, which is the second instrumental, which was only 2 minutes, and there was just mostly like fast tremolo riffs going on, and I thought that was a unique change-up, despite the fact that there was nothing else going on besides the guitars. I Am That Thirst, the riff that we start off here, combines chug and tremolo picking, which was kind of an odd contrast, but I actually really liked it. I thought this was one of the best riffs of the album. And again, with more of that atmosphere building on top. And I do love how this riff stays intense and it doesn't get boring. Like, finally we get some riffs that don't feel monotonous or boring to me. Which I was like, oh, thank God, because I thought after the first half, I thought I was like, okay, this is not going to be that strong of an album. But the atmospheric melodies that are going on in this track help add more depth, not only to the riff, but to the song itself. The Faultless, a darker, djenty riff, starting us off here, and the riff in the first verse maintains interest throughout, along with those atmospheric melodies in the background, and they stay dark. Another crazy tapping lead section. Again, it kind of feels a little lazy at this point, but at this point I'm going to allow it. The dark spoken word vocals come back towards the end of the song, which was kind of cool to hear. Armies of the Preposterous, faster riff to start off this song, which was really cool, which is interesting because many of the riffs you get on this album are either slow or mid-tempo based. While even the riff is faster, it still maintains a chug all the way through. And then you get probably the best lead of the album, which again isn't saying much, but this lead was not about tapping, it was more about building melody and atmosphere and bringing in a darkness to the song, which I really liked this lead for that reason. It didn't feel samey with the taps, it was all about atmosphere, kind of almost like a David Gilmour type of lead, where it's not all about showing off how fast or how technical or how much you can tap your guitar, but more about building a mood. And then to the final song, which is the third instrumental, Past Tense, I actually like this one. This is one of the better songs on here, and it's just clean guitars. But I love how it's able to build, starting off with more of a sinister tone. Then it builds into like a dark, eerie vibe. And then towards the end, it kind of feels a little uplifting. So it's like this song was able to take you into different moods for a clean guitar instrumental that was about 5 minutes. It changes moods every single time. It starts off sinister, then it becomes dark and eerie, then it becomes a little uplifting. Kind of like, almost like this song could feel like a montage for like an action movie or like a dark action movie of sorts. But, yeah, like I said, if I came off like a broken record with some of the things I was saying, well, that's because really the majority of this album just kind of stays in the same gear. A lot of the riffs kind of sounded the same. The lead work felt predictable throughout, and to me, the first half really hurts this album. The second half, it was like the first half kind of stayed near the bottom, and then the second half was kind of like a roller coaster. So, to me, it helped, or not helped, but it ruined the flow of the album for me. It just didn't flow well, and also a lot of songs just end abruptly, which I'm not sure. And I think a lot of this had to do with the fact that, I always forget the fucking guitarist's name, not Martin Hagstrom, Frederick Thorndahl. Like, he was always been like the main component of Meshuggah's songwriting, and I think the reason why this album kind of suffers is because he didn't really write at all. It was mostly down to Martin Hagstrom and bassist Dick Lovegren. Whereas Frederick didn't really write anything on this album, which is sad because I think he's an integral part of the Meshuggah sound, and some of the Meshuggah songs I like were songs that he wrote. Songs like Bleed and Future Breed Machine, Terminal Illusions. Those are some killer Meshuggah songs, and I think they were all written or co-written by Frederick. Here, Frederick didn't write anything. It was mostly Martin and Dick doing the writing on this, and to me, they kind of played it safe on this album, and I don't think this was a good follow-up to Violent Sleep. I thought Violent Sleep was a pretty damn good album. Here, I gotta be honest, I actually had to stop listening to it after the first 4 or 5 songs. I got bored in the beginning of this album. I actually went and took a nap, came back to listen to the rest, and luckily the second half saves this album from being, like, meh or run-of-the-mill. To me, it's an okay album. It's not anything spectacular. So for the score, I'm going to give it a 6.5 out of 10. It's just, there was a lot of parts on here that was kind of tough to get through. It was kind of a struggle because, like I said, it just kind of stayed in one gear this whole album. But thankfully, you have some highlights. Like, there's some parts I like and a couple of tracks that really do stand out. But most of the album just kind of felt uninspired, honestly. But again, this is my opinion. I know there are some people out there who probably love this album, and I can probably see some hate comments coming my way about this album, but hey, it's just how I feel. Then again, I've never been the biggest Meshuggah fan. I've enjoyed some of their stuff. It's just, I just don't like the djenty guitar tone, especially when it's used too much, and I feel like they use this too much. Granted, they can kind of get away with it because they started it, but at the same token, I like it when they don't use it as much, and I feel like here, they kind of overdid it a little bit for me. But anyways, it's a 6.5 out of 10. What did you guys think of Immutable by Meshuggah? Let me know in the comments below. And until next time, horns high, and I will see you soon. Well, after we got done eating, we're on our car ride, and look at this fucking shit.
Look at this bus! Where are you going, sir? I rode the bus here when I was little, and the bus route doesn't even go up this road. It's supposed to go around. What are you doing, sir? Big doors, small doors. You want to buy a door? We'll sell you a door. We only sell doors. We're Door Incorporated. We only sell doors. What the fuck is my life come to? I'm never gonna live it down because Johnny Benson has ruined me. Financially, mentally, physically. Johnny Benson, dude. If you're out there, Johnny, this one's for you.